Chapter 38. Margot's redemption. The bootlegger tunnel beneath the French Quarter was a suffocating vein of darkness, its damp brick walls etched with crescent moon symbols, the air heavy with mold and the faint tang of blood. Julien Dubois and Celeste Moreau crept through its depths, their borrowed Mardi Gras masks, Julien's black domino, Celeste's silver filigree, discarded for stealth. Julien's scar burned, Madame Zora's talisman and Amelie's journal grounding his resolve, while Celeste's amulet glinted, her camera tucked away. The Order of the Crescent Moon's procession had vanished ahead, leaving the ninth victim, Senator Claude Renaud, masked and dead in their wake. One sacrifice remained to complete their ritual at Magnolia's end, and the killer's blade was poised. The tunnel's faint echo of the crew of Comus parade above, muffled trumpets and crowd roars, faded as they neared the plantation's exit. A sudden scuffle broke the silence, a stifled cry from a side passage. Julien raised his revolver, signaling Celeste to dim her flashlight. They edged forward, finding Margot Thibodeau, the cabaret singer, slumped against the wall, her emerald gown torn, her dark hair disheveled. Blood trickled from a shallow cut on her arm. Her crescent moon mask from the LeBlanc ball shattered at her feet. Her eyes, wide with fear, locked onto Julien's. "Margot," Julien whispered, crouching beside her, his voice low but urgent. "What happened? You're with the Order, talk now." Margot's breath was ragged, her Creole accent thick with panic. "I didn't want this, Julien. They forced me, Devereaux's men. I lured the victims, sang at their balls, marked them for the ritual. Lavigne, Edgar, Clara. I had no choice. They threatened my family, my life." Tears streaked her face, her voice breaking. "I was running tonight, trying to get out, but they found me." Celeste knelt, her notebook out, her voice steady but sharp. "You knew about the ritual, the sacrifices. Why help them? And what's happening at Magnolia's end?" Margot clutched Julien's arm, her eyes desperate. "The final crescent, it's tonight, under the full moon. Devereaux's there, at the altar, planning the 10th sacrifice to seal their power. I can help you get in, show you the chamber, but you have to protect me." She fumbled in her gown, pulling a silver key etched with a crescent moon. "This opens the sanctuary's inner door." Julien's scar itched, Margot's confession aligning with Amelie's journal and the mansion's artifacts. Her fear was real, but her role in the murders made her a risk. "You're a liability, Margot," he said, taking the key. "But if you're telling the truth, we'll keep you safe. Where's the chamber?" Before she could answer, a shadow moved, a cloaked figure, their crescent moon mask gleaming, a knife flashing. Julien shoved Margot aside, firing his revolver, but the figure was too fast, plunging the blade into Margot's chest. She gasped, blood blooming on her gown, and collapsed, her eyes glazing as the figure fled into the tunnel's darkness. "Damn it!" Julien roared, checking Margot's pulse, nothing. Celeste's flashlight swept the passage, but the killer was gone, their speed uncanny. Margot's key glinted in Julien's hand, her death a brutal warning from the Order. "They're cleaning house," he said, his voice grim. "No loose ends before the ritual." Celeste's hand trembled as she sketched the scene, her amulet a faint shield. "She was trying to redeem herself, Julien. This key, it's our way in. We're so close, but they're one step ahead." Her voice hardened, the bruise from her abduction a reminder of the stakes. Julien pocketed the key, his talisman grounding him. "Then we move faster. Magnolia's end, the altar, Devereaux, it ends tonight." He stood, Margot's blood a stain on the tunnel floor, Amelie's vow, the moon must fall, burning in his chest. The crescent moon's shadow loomed, the final sacrifice a heartbeat away, and Julien knew the plantation would be a battlefield where redemption and revenge would collide. Chapter 39. The ritual site. The night air over Magnolia's End plantation was thick with fog and the scent of river mud, the distant wail of Mardi Gras final parade a fading echo from the French Quarter. The plantation's ruins, sagging columns, moss-draped oaks, loomed like specters under the full crescent moon. Julien Dubois and Celeste Moreau emerged from the bootlegger tunnel, their breath visible in the chill, their Mardi Gras masks discarded. Julien's scar burned, Madame Zora's talisman and Margot Thibodeau's crescent moon key heavy in his coat, while Celeste's amulet glinted, her camera slung across her shoulder. The Order of the Crescent Moon's ritual was minutes away, the 9th victim, Senator Claude Renaud, dead in the tunnel, and the 10th sacrifice, the final crescent, poised to seal their blood pact. They navigated the plantation's overgrown paths, guided by Celeste's map from Clara's diary and Margot's key. Julien's revolver was drawn, his lantern dim to avoid detection. The tunnel exit had led them to a sunken courtyard, where a stone trapdoor, etched with a crescent moon, marked the ritual chamber. Julian inserted Margot's key, the lock clicking softly, and they descended a spiral staircase into a cavern lit by flickering torches. The chamber was a cathedral of dark intent, its walls carved with voodoo veves and crescent moons, the air heavy with incense and the coppery tang of blood. At its center stood a black-draped altar, piled with ritual artifacts, papier-mâché masks, bloodstained knives, and a ledger listing 9 victims, the 10th slot blank. Silver crescent medallions glowed in the torchlight, and a fresh bloodstain marred the floor, a grim promise of the final sacrifice. Above the altar, a skylight framed the full moon, its light casting an eerie glow. "Devereaux's work," Julian whispered, his voice grim, scanning the chamber. "This is where they've been killing, where Amélie died." Her journal, naming Devereaux, burned in his memory, her 1916 murder the ritual's first spark. The artifacts matched those in Devereaux's mansion, proof of his leadership. Celeste's camera clicked, capturing the altar, her voice tense but steady. 9 down, 1 to go. The final crescent. Zora said it's a life of power or purity. Devereaux's here, Julian, and he's ready to end this. Her amulet pulsed, a faint ward against the chamber's menace. A low chant rose, Creole words twisted with malice, as cloaked figures emerged from shadowed alcoves, their crescent moon masks leering. At their center stood Vincent Devereaux, his black suit pristine, his blue eyes cold under a silver crescent mask. His voice was velvet, commanding. "Welcome, Detective Miss Moreau. You've chased the moon to its zenith, but you're too late. The final crescent will rise, and New Orleans will bow to our dominion." Julian raised his revolver, his scar a burning line. "You're done, Devereaux. 8 murders, Margot's blood, Amélie's, your ritual ends here. Step away from the altar, or I end you now." Devereaux's smile was a blade, unyielding. Amélie was a spark, a necessary offering. "The Order's purpose is greater than your vengeance, a city reborn, power unbound by blood. The 10th sacrifice seals it, and you cannot stop the moon." He gestured to the altar, where a silver chain lay, ready for the final victim. Celeste stepped forward, her camera flashing, her voice defiant. "The world will see this, Devereaux. Your ledger, your masks, your dominion is a graveyard." She slipped the ledger into her bag, her amulet glinting, but Devereaux's followers closed in, knives drawn. Julian fired a warning shot, the crack echoing, scattering the figures. "We break the altar, Celeste, now." They lunged for it, but Devereaux's laugh cut through, chilling. "Run, but the moon claims it's due." He vanished into a side passage, his followers covering his retreat, their masks a wall of menace. Julian smashed a knife into the altar, splintering its wood, as Celeste scattered the medallions. The chant faltered, the air shifting, but the Order's blades gleamed, forcing them back. They fled up the stairs, the chamber's torches flickering, Devereaux's words a taunt. The final sacrifice was moments away, and the crescent moon's light burned, a beacon to the ritual's deadly climax. Chapter 40. The betrayal. The fog over Magnolia's End plantation was a shroud, cloaking the ruins in an eerie silence as the full crescent moon burned overhead. The distant wail of the French Quarter's Mardi Gras parades had faded, leaving only the rustle of moss-draped oaks and the Mississippi's low murmur. Julian Dubois and Celeste Moreau emerged from the ritual chamber's spiral staircase, their lungs heaving, the Order of the Crescent Moon's altar splintered but not destroyed. Julian's scar throbbed, Madame Zora's talisman and Margot's crescent moon key grounding his rage, while Celeste's amulet glinted, her camera and stolen ledger tucked under her cloak. Vincent Devereaux had vanished with his cloaked followers, the 9th victim, Senator Claude Renaud, dead, and the 10th sacrifice, the final crescent, moments away. They sprinted through the plantation's overgrown courtyard, Julian's revolver drawn, Celeste's flashlight cutting through the mist. The chamber's veves and blood-stained artifacts confirmed Devereaux's ritual for dominion, Amélie's 1916 murder its genesis. Julian's vow, the moon must fall, drove him, but the Order's knives were close, their masks a leering threat. "We need backup," Julian whispered, his voice grim. "Tommy's our only shot, he knows these tunnels, the plantation." Celeste nodded, her bruise from her abduction a stark reminder of the stakes. "He's at the car waiting. If we can get to him, he'll guide us back in." Her voice was steel, but her eyes flickered with doubt. Tommy's earlier betrayal, feeding info to Devereaux, lingered. They reached the thicket where they'd hidden the Model T, Tommy, Satch, Russo leaning against it, his dark curls damp, his trumpet case at his feet. His grin was forced, his eyes darting to the shadows. "You made it," he said, voice shaky. "Thought I'd have to storm that place myself." Julian's scar itched Tommy's nervousness off. No time for jokes, Satch. The order's in there, Devereaux's leading the ritual. We need you to guide us through the tunnels, hit them from below. He gripped Tommy's shoulder, searching his face. You with us? Tommy's gaze dropped, his hands trembling. Julian, I didn't have a choice. Before Julian could react, cloaked figures burst from the fog, their crescent moon masks gleaming, knives flashing. Julian raised his revolver, but Tommy shoved him, a desperate act, and the order's men swarmed, pinning Julian's arms, a blade at his throat. Celeste lunged, her flashlight swinging, but a figure knocked her back, her camera skidding into the dirt. Tommy, you bastard! Julian roared, struggling as ropes bound his wrists. Tommy's face crumpled, tears streaking his cheeks. They got my ma, Julian, he choked. Devereaux's men, they said they'd kill her if I didn't bring you here. I'm sorry, man, I'm so sorry. He backed away, the order's masks closing in, their leader, a tall figure, Devereaux's silhouette, watching from the shadows. Celeste scrambled to her feet, dodging a knife, and sprinted into the underbrush, her cloak a silver blur. I'll come for you, Julian, she shouted, her voice fierce, the fog swallowing her. The order didn't pursue, their focus on Julian, their prize. The leader stepped forward, Devereaux's voice cold through his mask. You're a persistent thorn, Dubois. The final crescent demands a sacrifice of power, and you'll do nicely. He gestured, and the figures dragged Julian toward the ritual chamber, the key still in his pocket, the talisman of faint hope. Julian's scar burned, Amelie's memory a fire against his despair. Celeste was free, her ledger and camera a weapon to expose the order. Tommy's betrayal cut deep, but Julian's fight wasn't over. The crescent moon glared, its light a countdown to the ritual's bloody end, and Julian vowed to break free, or take Devereaux down with him.